as I said, this stage 8 to 12 is where you apply. You help the child to apply what you've taught them. One of the things that I believe strongly is in teaching people, anybody, anything is, first you show them how to do something, then you do it with them, then you lead them to do it themselves. So if you keep doing something for someone, or you keep yelling at them and don't give them the opportunity to try it and learn from it, they will never learn. Which is why I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin. It says, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." I think this is a key thing to remember with children ages 8 to 12. Once you've already told them 0 to 6, or 0 to 7, 8 to 12, what you are now doing is, or 7 to 12 as it were, giving them time to learn, to show you what they've learned. And it takes a long time because we're creatures of habit, so they need to practice again and again. But I understand the frustration. A lot of people, they don't, because we're all under pressure, most moms are working, or if they're not working, there's so much to do. You don't have time waiting for a child to do something badly. You just want it done as quickly as you can. But you're not helping the child. If you do that, then the child would never learn. If the child never learns, that means that you're going to keep doing this for a very long time. So if you don't want to end up in that situation, I say give them a chance to try and try and try again. That means that when they start out, they're not going to get it right. They're going to do it badly. So for example, teaching your child how to iron, for example. So when they first do ironing a shirt, they're going to iron it badly. They're not going to, or even their own uniform, they're going to do a really bad job, depending on the age you start. And I think in my house, we start, when was the first time you did ironing?
9.
I know, to me about 9. But before then, the parent would have watched. So we start them out to iron their own clothes, whatever it is, a top. They're going to do a bad job to begin with, but it's fine. By age 10, they keep doing it. They're getting better. 12, 13, now they can iron that his shirt. Tumi recently started ironing that his shirt. Okay? It's still not perfect, but keep doing it. One, not every week, but during the holidays, one here and there. The idea is, part of this parenting thing, is to teach people life skills. It's the same thing with food, for example. I start them off, they make noodles or boil eggs, something simple at age 9. And then once you taught them, get them to practice. Give them an opportunity to practice. Give them a chance, but we don't give them a chance. We want to do it for them all the time, or we get annoyed with them. Another thing I do a lot, and I start from, I think it's the simplest chore. They start at about 4 or 5, so I'm going to get Zayda to do it now. She's 5 next week, is to empty the bins. Empty the bins in the house, literally. And basically just put it into the central bin in the house, which is the kitchen. Go and put it there. So the one in the bathroom, the toilet, and in all the rooms. Empty the bin. Okay, when she first empties, half the bin is going to be on the floor. It's fine. Okay? Half of it, or half will remain in the litter bin. It's fine. But getting into that routine, not only does it teach her that life skill, but it also helps her to have a sense of responsibility, and it's good for their confidence, such that she knows that your job is to empty the bins. If the bins are full, particularly I enforce this when it's holidays, because during term time they're so busy. They say, well, the bins are full, what are you doing, so they can go and empty. So those are a couple of examples, and I'll run through a bit more. So it's the key thing at that age to allow them time to practice and continue to encourage. And when they practice, obviously what you do is you tell them, okay, you can do this better now. You haven't done this right, but this can be better. You've done well, notice the effort and all that. But that's the key thing to remember. I said here, misbehavior. One of the things that happens, or the issues at this stage, is people call it misbehavior. And there are reasons for this. Sometimes it's because the children want attention, it's because they want to push the boundaries, they want to revenge, they're inadequate and seeking approval. And I say with the attention seeking, as we go to, there's a table I put together, I got from a couple, Terry and Mr. and Mrs. Quinn. The name will come up, I can't remember now. You would see how they've suggested we deal with when children are seeking attention, and how we shouldn't take the bait because we're the adults. What tends to happen is, and for understandable reasons, people forget, or because, I don't know, but we forget that we're the adults and they're the children. So if you're not careful, what happens is they control you. They control your mood. They wind you up. And once they know that they're in control, you are in trouble. So what you need to do is to make sure that you check your emotions, that they know that they're not in control. which is very difficult. I think it's difficult, particularly when you think of the fact that in our lives, because we're so busy, we're just stressed all the time. We don't have time to mess about, you see, which it's unfortunate because the children, they do need to be trained. No, trained is not the word I'm looking for. They do need to learn life skills. They need their characters to be built. But we can't, it's difficult to build their characters when we're impatient with them all the time. They also want to push boundaries all the time. Again, it's a human condition, but we need to be refuse to be drawn in when they attempt to push boundaries. And I'll come to you, sit on the table, how they do that. So it would be that when you tell them not to do something, for example, that's exactly what they want to do. Or you tell them to do something, they don't want to do that. And what they're trying to do is to see, how far can I go? How far can I push this button? Push this person, and it's part of growth. You do want them to do that. You don't want a robot or anything. You want your child to test the waters and see. Revenge, and when they show inadequacy, all of those things are normal at this age. And I say, rather than criticize them or highlight whatever inadequacy, and you will see examples in a minute, is to support, is to encourage them. Notice what it is, or try and identify what they feel inadequate about, and then encourage them. And of course, seeking approval of friends. It will become clearer when we get to the table in a minute. Popular culture. Every child, and I'm sure we can all remember this, at one point or the other, the more aware they become, the more they want to be like their friends or everybody else. They don't want to feel isolated. They don't want to feel different. You want to feel the same as your friends. And so the danger in that is if we don't set clear boundaries for them, what would happen is the children will be, at the same time as we're parenting them, everybody else is trying to parent them for us. The TV, the internet, the school, their friends, everybody else. And what I said to do at this age is to limit the influence of those other people, which is what I strongly believe. I've tried it and it's worked. And again I've suggested to people, limit access to television. I'm amazed when people are astonished when people tell me, oh, television has a lot of educational things for children. I'm a bit dubious, because all those educational stuff you can teach your children yourself. And because you don't have control over what comes out of those TV programs, I say limit it. And what I do is with my children, nobody watches TV term time. And the television they watch is video. And we do that as a family during the holidays, and that's controlled. I know what's in it. I can manage that rather than open-ended. If children spend their lives in front of the TV, you have no control. That means that you are inviting other people into your home. You're giving them permission to teach your children things that you may or may not approve of, or to teach them in a way that is different from how you want to teach them. That's the implication of that, and which is why I limit that, because you don't have control over that. Internet is another one. I'm astonished again how parents give children unlimited access to internet. I'm shocked, particularly with iPad now. Lots of people, young children, 5, 6, 7, they say I have a mini iPad. What's that all about? I think it's reckless in my view, because the internet is a minefield of lots of wonderful things, but lots of dangerous things as well that children are not ready to deal with. They're simply not ready to deal with it. So allowing children unlimited access to internet, in my view, is reckless. So I say limit access to internet. Computer games is another thing. It can be very, very addictive actually. Easily children can get addicted to this. And in my experience, just like television, what happens is the children get used to being entertained. When you get used to being entertained, you are lazy mentally. You don't think, you just sit there and somebody else is entertaining you. What happens is that translates into how they conduct themselves in relation to their academics, how they conduct themselves in relation to when you're teaching them things, or you want them to embrace something new, or you want them to develop their critical thinking. All of those things are impacted because they're used to people just feeding them with things and not making any effort. I find, we have a word for it in my house that the girls came up with. They say you get lametized. So the definition, the meaning of that is that you become lame. So you're just sitting there in front of the television or a computer game, somebody else is feeding you. You don't have to think, you don't have to do anything at all. Children get into this habit, they become a problem for themselves, for their family, for their friends, for the society. Because they've now being put in a culture to be lazy. And that's what I find, that's what TV, too much of it, that's what it does to children. It makes them lazy mentally and agile, and as well as computer games. So I say limit those, because when you limit this, because that's when whatever the popular culture is out there, that's ways that they can come into your home. What is acceptable, for example, either somebody low riding or somebody saying it's acceptable for their 3-year-olds to wear makeup, for example. I mean, they play about it, but that's a bad example actually. Maybe it's an 8-year-old to wear makeup, 8-year-old to dress inappropriately, 10-year-olds to dress inappropriately. Whatever the popular culture is, all those things come into your home through TV programs, internet, or computer games. Or those computer games that are violent. So again, your children are vulnerable. You are opening up their hearts, their young minds to violence and things like that. And children, of course, being children, they don't know the difference. They will try to do those things. They will try to behave in those ways. They will try to emulate those things because they are, at that age, they're impressionable. And that's how they learn. And then you have a problem in your hands. You have problems because you're thinking, why is this child behaving like this? Well, if you paid attention and made sure they didn't watch too much TV, because already when they go to school anyway, they learn things from their friends. So you want to limit the number of avenues that things can come into their minds that makes it difficult for you to manage them. That should be your goal, your structure. You see, you need to. So if you've managed and chosen their schools, and in a way you can help kind of control their friends, TV, internet games, you have no control. Apart from the fact that it makes them lazy. I say provide structure. At this age as well, regardless of the age actually, structure is very good for children. Because what structure does is give them boundaries and help them to, I guess, function better. And I'll show you an example in a minute. Because what I find is when children don't have structure, it's open-ended. That means anything goes. They can do anything whenever they like. And in a way for them, it's not safe. It can feel a bit threatening actually. That means that they can just do whatever they feel like doing, which may not be the right thing for them. And this is what I've done over the years with my children. I've done this forever, even when I was working. When I was working, when I had nannies, au pairs, everybody.